Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. One time in the life of the Prophet ﷺ, a group of men approached him, and they're travelers. And they came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, Ya Rasulullah, we're facing poverty like we've never faced before. Times are extremely difficult. The Prophet ﷺ is a loving man. He's a compassionate man. He's a man whose heart is full of mercy. So when he saw his followers, a few of his followers going through what they were going through, he sprinted to action. He wanted to help them. He wanted to resolve their problem. He wanted to alleviate their difficulty. So what did he do? He went to the masjid. And the masjid is always a center of good. It's the light of this ummah. And he goes to the masjid. He gets on the pulpit. He calls the people. He calls everyone, come, I have something to say. And the Prophet ﷺ says, and he explains the situation, these people have come to me and they're going through some extreme difficulties. Who can help these people? Who can give some charity to these individuals? And at first, you know how it always is in fundraisers, where it's always a little bit silent, uncomfortable in the beginning part, and we're waiting for that first person to raise their hand. That's what happened with the companions. Very, very normal human behavior. So the Prophet asked, and no one was responding, and that made the Prophet ﷺ sad. These men came to him. They're depending on him. They're relying on him, and the Prophet wants to help them. And so they were sad until one man from the Ansar came with a large bag, and it was full of money. In fact, it was so large that this man was barely able to hold it. He was dragging this money. And he said, Ya Rasulullah, here you go. This is for these individuals. And then something happened that just brought so much joy to the heart of the companions. And that is, تَعَمَّرَ وَجْهُهُ عَلَيْهِ الصَّلَاةُ وَالسَّلَامُ. The Prophet ﷺ became so happy that his face was literally bursting with joy, bursting with happiness. And man, when the companions saw the Prophet's face like that, everyone jumped to action. They all wanted to contribute. Because when that's the face that you get, alayhi salatu wasalam, is the Prophet. If that's the reward that you get, seeing the Prophet happy, man, I would want to do that as well. The Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, what he's doing here is he's showing affection. And notice how when you show affection, when he showed affection alayhi salatu wasalam, how it caused everybody else to react in a positive way. And it got the situation resolved. And so today, in this episode, it's all about showing affection. And a lot of times, unfortunately, in our cultures, we think showing affection is a weakness. If a man expresses his love to his wife, that's not manly. Or if a man is soft and loving and compassionate towards his children, no, I can't do that. That's wrong, man. The Prophet ﷺ always showed his affection, and that is critical. Wallahi, it's so important to relationships. Why? Because it builds harmony between the members of the family. It builds love. It builds a feeling of stability. The person feels that the one I'm engaging with has a heart. There's a reaction to it. But imagine if you go to a loved one and you say, hey man, I'm graduating this year. And their reaction is, oh, okay, congratulations. Or sometimes what we hear, oh, so what? A million people have graduated before you, who cares? How are you going to take that? Not positively. In fact, that hurts. Because although what the person is saying is, well, it's nothing special, what you understand is that it's not that the action isn't special, it's that you're not special. And how does that harm the relationship? No. When you show affection, when you show emotion, it brings life to the relationship. In fact, it brings sakina. It brings tranquility to the relationship. We human beings, we are a very emotional being. That's how Allah created us. He created us with these feelings. And these feelings manifest themselves in our face. You can tell when someone's happy, you can tell when someone's angry, you can tell when someone is stressed out, you can tell when someone's afraid. because the emotions have an impact on the face. And when someone is emotionless, it's like they're not a human being. How do I engage this person? Or should I even engage this person? Is it worth it? So we human beings, by nature, we need to show affection. If every time we try and show affection, we're shut down, that hurts us. And if every time someone tries to receive affection from us, it's always negative, that hurts relationships. Or if when we are talking to someone, they show us no affection, that hurts the relationship. But when the Prophet ﷺ showed affection, man, it got them moving. You can do that with your family. You can do that with your kids. How can we do that with our kids? Well, number one, acknowledge their presence. It's so important. When the Prophet ﷺ would host his daughter Fatima, Fatima would enter the Prophet's home ﷺ. What would the Prophet do? Just sit down looking at his phone, scrolling. Salaam alaikum, Baba. Wa alaikum salam. Salaam alaikum, Mama. Oh, yeah. Wa alaikum salam. They're just scrolling through whatever nonsense on social media they're watching. Versus the Prophet, when Fatima would enter, he would stand up. He would go to her. He would go to her. And he would acknowledge her. He would kiss her. He would take her by the hand and sit her down where he was sitting, alayhi salatu wasalam. All of that is doing what? It's acknowledging her presence. Man, remember when your kids were younger? Or you yourself, you have young kids now? What happens when you come home? Baba, Baba, Mama, Mama, come see what I did. Come look at this, come look at that. Because the children, they're behaving with their natural fitrah, their natural disposition. That is to show affection. And so they're giving affection left and right. Now, that's your opportunity to build that relationship. If you respond positively, you acknowledge them, you look at their eyes and you show them, man, I'm happy. What do you have to show me? I want to see. And say, look, I did this. And then your face beams with joy. You did that? That's so cool. How did you do that? Show me. You're building a relationship. You're communicating to your child, man, I am so interested in you. I see what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. I see what you're doing. And I'm reciprocating that. The child understands, man, I can trust my parent. I can trust this individual. It's worth my time to tell and talk to this individual. But how many of us, we have family members who every time we engage, their response is always the two-word response. How was your day? Okay. How's school going? Fine. There's something going on there. And it's not always the parents' fault. Let's be very clear here. We're living in difficult times. The question isn't, right? The thing we're trying to pose here isn't, are you doing a bad job? We're trying to say, how can we strengthen our family? And we're putting goals to do that. This goal is super important. The goal of showing affection. Acknowledge their presence. Also, a second thing that we need to do is public displays of affection. Public. The Prophet would do things for his wives, for other companions, publicly in front of everyone else. One time the Prophet ﷺ got down on his knees and propped one of his legs up so that his wife Safiya radiallahu ta'ala anha could step on it to get on her horse. He did this in front of everyone. How do you think Safiya felt when the Messenger of Allah got down on his knees, put his leg up, so that she can have an easier time getting on her horse? I'm sure she was so proud. Look at this man, how he's honored me in front of everyone. And one well-known sheikh in the Muslim world, he said publicly that when I see my wife's shoelaces untied, I go down myself and I tie her shoes in front of everyone. How do you think she feels when that happens? But of course, relationships are two ways. He says, I do this to follow the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, but also as an acknowledgement for the things she does for me at home. Show affection in public. There's nothing wrong with showing your love for your spouse, for your children in front of other people. It builds that trust, it builds that strength in the relationship. And last but not least, do things that they like. You look at your children, what do they like to do? And do those things with them. They like playing video games? No problem. Play with them. Your wife likes doing whatever? Do it with her. Your husband likes to do something? Do it with him. That is showing affection. You're communicating to this person, I'm doing this simply because you like it, because it's important to you. And I'm expressing my affection, my love to you by doing the things that you love. The Prophet ﷺ, when he would engage his companions, he wouldn't talk about the things that are in his minds. He would talk about the things that are on their minds. He would do the things that they like to do. In fact, it's said that the Prophet ﷺ, he would speak the dialect of the person he's speaking to. So some man would come who has a different dialect. The Prophet would start speaking in their dialect. Why? To show that affection. We are one. Alayhi salatu wassalam. So tell me, how does showing affection help you build relationships? And what are some tricks and hacks that you've done to help communicate that affection, your feelings, and your love for people that you love? Share those ideas so that we can all benefit. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum everybody. Thank you for watching. If you're finding benefit in these videos, remember that every day throughout the month of Ramadan, we'll be releasing a new video. Our goal is to build a stronger family, especially in our times today when the family unit is really dissolving. It's so important for us as Muslims and to serve as a role model for all of humanity. Share these videos, like, drop a comment, and we'll see you at the next video. Bismillah.